to put it into language.
Mhm. Oh, I think we're going live. Okay. So it looks like we're live now on YouTube, and we want to welcome Jerry Roy, who is from Vancouver, Canada, which is just not too far from where I'm located right now. Thank you, Jerry, for being here with us today.
Great. Thanks for having me. So I'll just start again. So, we're talking about meditation practice, which meditation is just a bridge to take an inward journey. And there's so many bridges out there of how to take that inward journey. And a lot of them lead to similar places, and a lot of them lead to different places. And I think one of the big differentiations between some practices is control. And I'll talk about that in a bit, but that journey is very experiential. Oh, there's Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi there.
Nice to see you again.
So nice to see you.
Yeah. So the meditation practice, the inward journey, it's experiential, and a lot of it doesn't have a language to it. If we have time, has anybody heard of Simon Sinek?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a great video that talks about the different parts of the brain. And I don't know if we want to listen to it, but if you guys have listened to it, maybe we don't need to. So when we talk about meditation, we're intellectualizing something that's experiential that can't really be explained. So as long as we understand that, that's a good place to start.
So what techniques do you find to work the best for the way that you meditate? Because I know it's different for everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that. Give me a couple of steps to get into it. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been practicing meditation for 50 years now. So, and the most part, it's a daily practice I do for 2 hours a day. And it's a practice that today has been referred to as mindfulness. And you probably all heard of mindfulness. Well, mindfulness had its roots in Buddhism, but it's not teaching Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist religion. It's called Vipassana meditation. And Vipassana means to see things as they are. And what happens is when we go through life, we don't see things as they are. We see our reactions to things. So I'm going to get into a little bit of an intellectual description. And I'm going to talk about the 5 aggregates of the mind and how the mind works. So we have 6 sense doors if we include intuition. And when those sense doors make contact with the same object, that's the first aggregate where there's contact. And when contact happens in the mind, consciousness or awareness arises. And we become aware of, like, let's say we're taking the sense door of I, and we see something. Like, let's say we see a beautiful landscape. And so we have awareness and consciousness of that contact. And then what happens is we recognize what we're being conscious of. We have perception because it's part of our history. And so that's the third part where we recognize what we're becoming aware of. And then the next thing, which is probably the most important thing, is sensation arises on the mind. And sensation is feeling. And everything in our life that happens is sensation based. And that's how we know we're alive, through sensation. So what happens is we can break, so sensation is connected to the heart, the mind, not the brain. It's not the brain that's doing the thinking, it's the mind that's having the experience and the feeling. And what happens is when we have a feeling, we react to that feeling. And to simplify the reaction, we either like what we're feeling or we don't like what we're feeling. And this is the root cause of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Where if we don't like it, we want to push it away. It feels uncomfortable. And if we like it, we want to hang on to it. But as we know, things are in this constant state of change.
Mm-hmm.
Things on the mind, they're arising and passing away moment to moment. And so when we have these experiences, we are either pushing them away or we're hanging on to them.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is we're not really seeing what is, we're experiencing the reaction, not the reality. So the idea is to learn how to come out of suffering, how to come out of reacting to things. So with Vipassana, with mindfulness, there's two parts to the meditation practice. There's breath meditation, which is pretty universal. And then there's awareness of sensation. So with breath sensation, what you're doing is the breath is natural, you can't control it. It's just happening. So learning to watch the breath is a way to teach the mind how to focus on an object. As you all know, our minds are jumping all over the place. So what we're doing is we're learning how to focus our intention on an object. And then when we do that, we can start to go deeper into the mind.
Is that object like a physical object in the room, or just or something that you're just kind of focused on?
Well, it's your breath.
Okay.
So the breath is, you could say the breath is a physical object,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that goes on inside of you, and you're just paying attention to the breath. And the idea is that, we're observing the breath, and then all of a sudden we're having thoughts and we're thinking about something and we're not watching the breath anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is not to judge, but to just come back and put your attention on the breath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is the mind gets very concentrated.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have probably heard the term samadhi.
I don't think I've heard that word before.
Okay. Well, samadhi is a deep state of concentration.
Okay.
So what we're doing with the breath is we're teaching the breath to hold the mind. We're teaching the mind how to hold our awareness on an object. And then what happens is as we go deeper into our breath, we start to become aware of sensation. And the practice teaches you how to, they use the term scanning the body, where you move your awareness from the top of your head throughout your whole body. And that is a basic practice. And it's totally experiential. So it's really hard to explain with words what actually happens. But what happens is when you're starting to becoming aware of your sensations, you're learning, you're teaching the mind to watch the sensations, what is, rather than your reactions to sensations. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, very interesting. So, so I'll give you an example. You're in a relationship, your partner does something, you react to it, you have friction between the two of you. After a while, you start to watch the sensation of, so your partner does something, it creates a sensation that you react to. Like, let's say you get angry. And so you get angry. So after a while, you learn how to watch the sensation of anger inside of yourselves. Okay.
Mhm.
And what you're doing over time is you're learning just to be in the moment with what is, rather than your reactions to things. So this is the gateway to freedom.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
I find that so interesting when you get into that breath work. And I mean, it's not easy by any means to sit there and focus on your breath, or an object, whatever that object may be, whether it's, a round ball in the room or whatever, but focused on one object. I mean, I always get all these different things just hitting me, and I'm like, what about this? And what if I did this? And, what about this crypto project? What, like I just get all these thoughts, and I'm just like, okay, back to the breath, bring it back.
yeah, well, and where you come back to is you come back to the sensation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And then your sensation is, let's say crypto, you have a lot of craving, you're going to make a lot of money. And that craving and that attachment to making a lot of money is really the thing that prevents you from making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when you are in the sensation, you're just in the moment. And that comes into another thing of your why. But I'll come back to that, because I've got a little order. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to live our life free from suffering. And the way we do that is by stop having attachment to things we like, or having aversion to things we don't like. And we always think that the things we don't like are the things that create suffering for us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But letting go of the things that we're attached to is also a great source of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So when we can be free of that, and we're just in the moment accepting what we have, then we really start to become we start to get a sense of freedom. I'll give you an example. So I'm a solo entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. And I was always wanting to get out of survival mode. And for the longest time, I thought that the way to do that would be to make lots of money. And I realized that that's not the solution. And what I realized is, I was trying to get out of survival, and I realized the futility of trying to get out of survival, because we're a species that's always in survival, So trying to get out of something that is part of us is just another source of suffering. And so what I realized is, what I needed to do is I needed to learn how to get on the other side of survival. But I also realized that I had to let go of my ideas and my belief systems of what getting out of survival looked like. And it's when I let go of that I started to discover what it was like to be on the other side of survival. Just being in the moment and paying attention to what needs to happen.
Well, I find too, like if you're thinking survival, that's all that is going to ever show up for you. But if you can focus on the outcome of what you would like, which is, a lot of things that we talk about is manifestation or manifesting in certain, ways, that is kind of what you're talking about is, when you're just thinking survival, that's all that's ever going to show up. If you can get out of survival mode and you can get into abundance mode, right? Because there's more than enough for everyone on this planet if you want it. If that's what you desire, it's there for you to take. I don't want to say take, but it's there for you to use, through you, use that energy through you.
Yeah, I read a great book. I think it was, I think it was called Strength Finders 2.0.
Okay.
And, what it did is it talked about how we always try and focus on our problems, figuring that we need to get rid of our problems. So we want to focus on our problems. But the reality is we're always going to have issues and problems that we need to deal with. So if we're focusing on our problems, that's how we go through life.
Exactly.
And so what this book was talking about is, don't focus on your problems. Don't focus on your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths. And that's where you discover your power.
Yeah, that's what I'm always very, very much like that. Is just minimize your weaknesses and maximize your strengths. And if you can just minimize them, and if you have to chip away at them, let's just say like you're horrible at budgeting for your financial stuff. It's like your Achilles heel, but you're really strong at doing something else. Well, maximize that, minimize that, and say, well, what could I do to minimize, that budgeting issue that I have? Could I hire someone? Could I, take a class that can maybe help me get better? Just find ways that you can just start to chip away at that little weakness that you have. Right. And having that awareness of it just allows it to elevate and allows you to make a decision on, what's the best thing for you, so that isn't an issue anymore. And something else will always be an issue. Like you said, you're always going to have a problem, but do you have a solution for that problem? So it's not really affecting your day-to-day life.
And you know what I find? I find that everything is so energetic. One of the things we have to be careful with is when we're trying to manifest something, that we don't get too caught up in it. It's like we need to be in an energetic place where things just show up. And I use an analogy sometimes, and it's we're looking for God. However we define God, we're always looking for God, but we don't know what she looks like. So how can we find her if we don't know what she looks like?
hmm
So the key is to open our hearts,
hmm
because we don't find God. God finds us,
hmm
and that's really how I try and live my life, is I try and live my life in such a way that I'm not trying to manifest things, but I'm just opening my heart energetically and seeing what comes to me,
hmm
and
Yeah, I love
yeah, and it's kind of it's kind of living from the inside out,
that. hmm
rather than trying to live in the outside world and bring things in. We really need to live in the inside and let that just open our hearts and manifest.
hmm
Um, and when we do that, we start to become connected, and we stop living from our ego, from this false identity with a self
hmm
that's separated from everything else.
Yeah,
And we start to live a life of connectedness.
exactly. Well, let me check in with Pamela, Rebecca, Amanda. Do you guys have any questions for Jerry up to this point?
Well, it's very interesting. It's very aligned with many of the things I do. But when you meditate daily for 2 hours, are you strictly thinking about your breathing, or do you bring in creative visualization? That's one of my favorite things, is visualizing, of course, to manifest, or assuming the mental state I will be in when I no longer am bothered by certain people, or when I'm no longer feeling stuck and I'm ready for the next phase. So I start to assume that feeling of how I'm going to feel when I get there, when I'm meditating, and then it will magically show up many times. Does that make any sense to your kind of meditation? Or I call it active meditation. It's more
Yeah.
active.
So for me, my deepest meditation is emptiness.
Right. Now, what does that do for you? Just clears everything out. You're not trying to do anything. You just want to be. Right.
It just creates a presence, and it creates an energy.
Yeah. Well, that's similar to when I was sometimes, like one time I had an accident and I had to go to the hospital, and I kept just letting go of everything. I just let it all go.
Mhm.
Didn't let it bother me. Just let it go. And it took care of itself. Yeah.
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 So I try, in my meditation, I'm not thinking, but thoughts come up. But I'm not trying to figure anything out, and I'm not trying to get any place. I'm just trying to be in the moment and listen and feel, and just be in the moment of emptiness and see what arises. So it's like that's a very deep place to go, because you're really expanding your awareness and consciousness when you go into that deep space. And so to me, that's part of what it's about, is just really just being in a state of awareness of what is, but without the experience, without see, some of what you described has some separation in it. you know.
Right. It does. It does. Yeah. And I also took Yogananda's 2-year program where, he's Kriya Yoga meditation and when he meditates, you're supposed to see the indigo spot. And I could do that, I could see that. But there are definitely different levels of meditation. And, when you really touch your inner core, which is God within you, it's much more profound than just using your mind in a special way to manifest something that you need to have in your life.
Well, I like Yogananda. His autobiography of a yogi was one of the first spiritual books I read.
Yeah.
Been a very profound impact on my life. Part of the problem for me, and it's not being critical, because when you're looking at a indigo, when you see a deep color like that in your meditation, you're going into a pretty deep state of meditation. But to actually look for it kind of becomes an obstacle, because there's this, there's Rebecca looking for the indigo light.
Oh, yeah. You can't force anything like that, for sure.
And
Yeah.
so what you have is you have the separation, you have duality,
Right.
and
Right.
that is not going to take you into a deeper state. So what I do with the breath, it takes me into that deep state of awareness.
Do you
And
think Kundalini experience of the energy going up your spine?
There is some of that, but that's a pretty Kundalini going up and up your spine is pretty, it's an energetic sensation. And it happens sometimes, but I find that I'm really trying to find that emptiness, that stillness, where I am my breath in a way,
Jerry, do you want to talk a little bit about your silent retreats and stuff that you do there?
Yeah. So the thing is, what we're talking about, as I said, it's very experiential. So, you can't teach somebody how to ride a bike. They just need to get on a bike and ride. So what happens is we hold 10-day meditation retreats, and we have meditation centers all over the country. So, Rebecca, where did you say you live?
I live in Rhode Island right now.
Okay.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, so there's a really big meditation center in Barre, Massachusetts.
Oh, I've heard of that one. That's
actually, it's not Barre, it's Springfield. I think it's Springfield. But anyways, there's a big site there. Pam, you're in Texas. There's a center just east, about an hour of Dallas. And then Adam, there's a center south of Seattle, about 45 minutes. And so when you go to a course, you're going there for 10 days. And it's actually, you come in the day before and you leave the morning thereafter. So it's like part of 12 days. And the courses are done on a donation basis. So you go there and accommodation and food and teaching are all provided. And there's no charge. And the idea behind it is it's not commercial. The volition of holding courses is not to make money. The volition for doing the courses is to help people walk on this inward journey. So when you go to a 10-day course, you are meditating 12 hours a day. Now you go, wow, I've never meditated before. I can't do that. But the courses are designed for somebody like myself who's been meditating for 50 years, or sometimes people like you who may have never done any meditation at all. And so they go through a step-by-step process to teach you meditation over 10 days. And you start with working on the breath for 3.5 days. And then you move over to working with sensation for the other 6 or 7 days. And it's a gradual process where you go deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, the courses are done on total silence. There's no reading, there's no writing, there's no eye contact with people. But you do have an opportunity to talk to a teacher and ask them questions or go for an interview. And if there's course managers to help you with your physical accommodations. So if there's anything going on with your physical accommodation, you can talk to people about, you need another blanket or da-da-da-da-da. And the idea behind it is at the end of a course, if you feel you've benefited, then you can make a donation for somebody else to do a course. And the idea is you're having this intensive 12 hours a day, 10 days a week, 10 days in a row, learning how to meditate. So when you start your day starts at 4:30 in the morning, and you sit for 2 hours in the morning, and then from 4:30 to 6:30, and at 6:30 there's a break for an hour and a half for breakfast and shower and walking around and relaxing. So from 6:30 to 8 there's a break, and then you're meditating from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then there's a 2-hour break for lunch, and then you're meditating from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then there's a 1-hour break for tea and fruit. It's a light meal in the evening, and then there's 3 hours in the evening. So when you're meditating from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, there's a group meditation from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, where everybody's supposed to be in the meditation. And there's some instruction given. And then the rest of that morning, you can get up and go for a walk and take a break and come back in and practice some more. And then if you need to, you can get up and go in for a walk. And the same thing in the afternoon, you're meditating from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and there's a group meditation from 2:30 to 3:30. And then in the evening, you're meditating from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. There's a group sitting from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then there's a very slight break. And then there's about an hour and a half discourse by the teacher talking about what's being taught that day and some of the things you're going through and what's going to happen the next day. And then you have that every day.
That sounds amazing. And you said there are 10 days or 30-day retreats?
Well, yeah, there's 30 and there's 40 and 60-day, 45-day and 60-day retreats.
Wow.
But you need to qualify for those courses.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are new to the practice, they come in for a 10-day retreat. And as you get deeper into the practice, there's opportunities to do longer courses.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So it's a really, and what it does, it gives you the foundation to take the practice back into your life and develop a daily meditation practice.
Mhm.
You've had this deep experience.
So anyone brand new, just never meditated before, what would be some advice that you would give someone brand new?
I'd say let go of your expectations and just go in there very open. And I tell people, when you go into a 10-day course, it's going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done in your life.
Mhm.
And you're going to come out of it feeling better than you've ever felt before.
Hmm.
Like
Oh, that's awesome.
beyond your imagination.
Hmm.
And I can almost guarantee that that'll happen.
Amazing.
And the experience of how you feel is so amazing, because your mind is so focused and you're inside yourself, aware of sensation, and you're seeing things without reacting in a way that you've never experienced things before.
Mhm. So when is the next one happening? Do you have a schedule when that's happening?
Yeah, let me do something here. Give me a sec. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
So here's a website called Dhamma.org. So it's DH, hang on a sec. It's DHAMMA.org. And so one of the things to understand is the Buddha taught in a language called Pali. And a lot of the terms that we hear tied to Buddhism and spirituality are in Sanskrit. And the languages are very similar. So I'll give you an example. We have the word Dharma, right? Everybody's heard that before.
Mhm.
Well, in Pali, it's Dhamma. So that's why it's Dhamma.org. Okay. So you guys want to write this down, Dhamma.org. And you can see here, if you go into locations, they have locations all around the world. So let's go into the worldwide directory. Okay. Okay. So you can see here, Africa, America, Asia, Europe, and Oceania. So we'll go to Americas, and we'll go to North America, and we'll go into the US, because you guys are in the US. So you can see all the centers here. So in California, there's 3 centers here: North Fork, Kelseyville, and Gilroy. Oh, and there's another one, 29 Palms, which is down by San Diego. And then there's, of course, in Colorado, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Massachusetts. So this is where you're close to, Rebecca. And it's a very, very cool meditation center.
That's a beautiful little town. I went
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it is. And so if we go here and we look at courses, so here's a typical course schedule. So the courses You know, some of the centers are operating on pre-COVID capacity. So instead of doing 140 people, they're only doing 70. So you'll see here, we're looking at, like there's a course August 31st, but the course is full. And then there's another course on, now there's service periods, but September 14th, the course is full. So we go to October 5th, the women's a wait list and the men's a wait list. Now, when there's a wait list, you want to sign up for the course because you'll almost automatically get into that course. Because what happens is people see, oh, I've got to sign up for this, so they sign up, but then they end up canceling out when it comes close to the course. So almost everybody who wants to do a course, when you're on a wait list, you'll get on a course.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
So you can see here, you go out to the 19th, the course is full. And men's short wait list, women's full. And so, yeah, they're pretty popular courses.
Wow.
So now let's go to another center. So now, okay, so Pam, you're in Dallas, right? Or near, you would be close to Dallas, so
That's about 8 hours away from me.
yeah, okay, so Texas, okay. Oh, they have a new center in Texas. So do you know where New Ulm is?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, let's go. Yeah, I don't know where New Ulm is, but if we go in here, this is a pretty cool center. And so if we go into courses here,
So is it all men or all women? Is that all they
No.
do?
no, they're together.
Oh,
Yeah, but they're separated, you know, but it's for
Oh.
men and women.
yeah.
Yeah. So, by the way, Rebecca, when I showed you the Massachusetts course, that's the most popular center in the country.
Oh,
That's why it was so full.
hmm.
So here there's a course October 28th. Well, that's the service period. So here, old women is open, but new women is closed. So 10-day. So there's a long wait list for women, new women, but there's still a very good chance you're going to get in. And then you come down here, yeah. So so if we go back to this other center, New Ulm.
Shelburne Falls is a very powerful vortex layaway center
Uh-huh.
where they signed some very famous documents
Right, right.
years ago. It's kind of a power center.
Yeah. Oh, this is just, yeah, this looks like it's a new center. So, so in Washington on Alaska, So there's wait lists here, but there's a good chance you could get in, but that's August 31st. It's pretty close. September 14th, there's wait list, but you would get into these courses.
And Jerry, I'm noticing that there's some documentation about COVID and stuff. How does that kind of play into it too, especially if you're not vaccinated?
You don't need to be vaccinated. They just want to make sure that you haven't been exposed.
Okay. Okay, cool.
There's no mandate or anything like that.
Well, this has been awesome. And so if you're looking to connect with you, Jerry, do you have a website that you can send people to? Or do you have a way, if someone wants to contact you, what's the best way to get in contact with you to learn some more information?
Yeah, the best way is to just email me at jerry@jerryroy.com.
Okay.
And that's Jerry with a J.
Okay.
And then take this website down here.
Awesome. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to take any more of your precious time. I know how busy you are. I know you've got this massive crypto project on the go right now, and I'm invested into it. So it's going crazy right now with the amount of people we have onboarding and everything else. So definitely appreciate you coming on board and talking about this. And meditation and the silent retreats, I think, are so critical and so important. And
well, you know, Adam, it's we're in a very, very, very auspicious time right now. You know, and there, you know, people's awareness is really shifting, and there's a lot of indigo children and a lot of powerful beings coming into the planet. And you know, there's people who are channeling it a lot and getting guidance, and you know, they say the veil between the conscious and the subconscious is really disappearing. And you know, that's kind of stuff that you tune into and you get into this empty space.
Yeah, I know. Like Amanda and I, almost a year ago, went to Costa Rica and we did like ayahuasca retreat.
Yeah.
And it just totally boosted my subconscious mind. It opened it up, and like, I swear I'm seeing things out of my peripheral vision now a lot more than I've ever seen them before. And I really do feel that veil is starting to be lifted, and this matrix or whatever has been pulled over our eyes for as long as it has been, it's starting to wear thin and thin and thin. And you know, this is what we're all about. We're all about, you know, how can we help people ascend into the 5D? How can we help people, if they're in the darkness, find the light? And I know meditation and I know these silent retreats are definitely ways to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jerry, for coming on board. Really appreciate it. And I hope, you know, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. We're always trying to grow it and make it bigger. And hopefully we can, you know, help some more people for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you know, the other thing that I can do is I have an ebook called The Art of Living. And it's written by a friend of mine. It's an ebook and an audiobook. And I have the files in both versions. So Adam, I'll send it to you, and you can send it out to Rebecca, Pam, and Amanda.
Perfect. Yeah, we definitely will do that.
And what it does is it talks about the 10-day course. So it actually gives you kind of an inside look of how the 10-day course is. And it talks about the meditation practice. And it's a really good introduction.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Okay. Hey guys, nice meeting you guys. Adam, are you available later today, or what's